Good morning, students. In today's video I shall be explaining the overloading constructor with array of class object. So we have already seen what is function overloading, and we have implemented the function overloading concept in classes and objects, and also in constructors and destructors. So you can see that function overloading is very important, especially in these object-oriented programming features, which implements the method of polymorphism. So here we have already seen what is overloading constructor. So here what we're doing is that we are overloading constructor with area of class objects. So the concept of overloading is that we can use the same function name in the program again and again, provided the number of parameters or arguments differ, right? So the data type also can differ. In this particular program you can see that we're using the same parameter type, the parameter name here, but it may be possible that depending upon the creation of new objects, here we are using only one object, that is the EMB object. But using different objects, we can call all these parameters also, that is with different data types and different parameter names, right? So here in this particular program you can see that the class name is employee, which is user defined data type. This is a private access specifier, so which implies that these data members or these data members, EMB code, EMB name, EMB designation, EMB salary, which are of different data types, are all private. So under the public access specifiers we have the member functions, and these are the constructors which are declared, which are the special member functions. So here this is the default constructor. So this is actually a function prototype declaration. So this is default constructor, which means that this constructor will return the default value. It does not accept any parameter, nor does it pass any arguments, right? So the default value for a constructor in the case is like for integer values or for real values, the value is assigned is 0, and then for string values, character values, then it is a null value, right? So that's why here you can see in this function body the values are being assigned. So here in the case of the second, so all these are parameterized constructors. As you can see that in a parameterized constructors, it passes parameters, right? It accepts, declares parameters, and it passes arguments. So here 1, 2, 3 and 4 parameters are declared here, which is of integer type, character, and float. In the third constructor you can see that only 3 parameters are declared, and in the fourth constructor only 2 parameters are declared. So you can see that though the constructor names are same, yet the number of parameters differs. So when the object gets declared, then when the value is as initial values assigned, all of these parameters will be called based on the number of parameters, right? So here in the main function you can see that the variable I is declared, which is the counter variable, the index, and then here the class is declared an object, which is an array object. Now so this declares, and so here the index is 4, which means that it will declare 4 objects, right? So it will declare 4 objects or 4 employee information. Now normally when we use an array or when we assign a value to an array, we always use this format, right? Equal to, and then this within these braces ended by a semicolon. So here the values are assigned. Now in the case of this you can see that the constructors are invoked, right? So here the constructors are invoked. Here in the case of the first one, it is a default constructor. Now this may look complicated, but when we declare a normal object without an array, when we declare a normal object within the parentheses like this, we assign the values, right? Which is an implicit call. So so the object, or in the case of this, if we just write this here, that would be an explicit call. using the constructor. That means using the constructor to pass the values to the parameterized constructor, right? So but in the case of this, since we're using an array object, so to initialize an array object, the members using the members of the object using the array, we use this assignment operator and this parenthesis and these brackets. So the first invokes the default constructor. As you can see that in the case of this parameter, it should, depending on whether there is any arguments passed or not, right? So here in the case of this one, the compiler search for a constructor similar to this, which is in the case of this, it does not pass any parameter, right? So it does not declare any parameter. So in the case of this, this will invoke this call function, right? So here you can see that the scope resolution operator tells the compiler that this constructor belongs to the class employee. As you can see that it has been already declared, the prototype, right? So when the constructor or the member functions are declared inside the class declaration, then the function body has to be declared outside of the class, which is by using the scope resolution operator. So since it is declared outside of the class, only using the scope resolution operator, we can tell the compiler that, alright, we can tell the program that this constructor belongs to the class employee. That's why we use the scope resolution operator. And as you can see in the call function, the semicolon is not used. So this is a function body to be executed. So this initializes the object data members. As you know that when the object gets declared, when the object is created, the constructor is invoked automatically, right? The constructor gets called. So if no so here, since this is the default constructor that is being invoked, so this function will be called and it will execute. Employee code will be assigned the default value, which is 0, right? So EMB name will be assigned a null value, EMB designation also null value, and EMB salary will be assigned 0. Now again, control comes back to the main function, and then as you can see here, no, this is not, we are using comma, not semicolon, because this is initialization of the array object, right? So here, that's why we use this comma, not semicolon. As you can see that here also you're using comma, all right, and end the bracket, and bracket, and then end with the semicolon, right? So this is similarly like assigning values. So here in the second calling function is invoked, which is this constructor explicitly passes the value 100, Mr. John Smith, computer teacher, and 30,000, right? So since this is a string value, that's why it's enclosed under this double quotes. So here there are 4 arguments that is being passed by this constructor. So what will happen is that since this is an explicit call, so it will call the function which has 4 parameters. Alright, so it will call the function which has 4 parameters, and it will pass these arguments to these variables e code, e name, e designation, and e salary. So the constructor employee, as you can see that the constructor and the class name are same. The constructor employee will accept the values. This declares these parameters, these formal parameters, and it will store the value in these variables, and then that value will be passed from the e code to the private data member. Since this is private, right, so the object cannot access these members. So using the constructor, the private data members gets initialized, right? So they are assigned the value. Otherwise, random garbage values will be assigned to the members when the object gets invoked, right? So e code, suppose like 100 is passed to EMB code, and e name, using the string copy function, all right, the values of e name gets transferred to EMB name, right? Similarly, e designation gets transferred to gets copied to EMB designation, and e salary gets copied to EMB salary, right? Then control comes back to the third constructor, that is the third assigned value. So again, you can see that this is explicitly passed explicitly called, so 3 arguments are passed to, not to this one, right, but to here, because you can see that 3 parameters are declared. So again, EMB code is assigned, name is assigned, designation is assigned, and in the case of this, you can see that the salary variable is not declared here, but here you can see that EMB salary is assigned the value 0. So if EMB salary is, as you know that since the constructor member function is a part of the class employee, so the constructor can access all the private members, data members, all the private data members or the members of the class, right? So that's why if you, even if you write here EMB salary equals to 0, it will not declare any error, even if you have not declared here float E salary, right? Because it has access to the EMB salary. So here EMB salary is assigned the value 0. That means instead of a garbage value, it is assigned the value 0. Again, after execution of this, it comes back to here. So so again, the function call will pass these values, and then it gets transferred to here, and then here you can see that designation is not mentioned, so only the EMB code and then EMB name gets passed, and then in the case of designation, a random garbage value will be assigned, but EMB salary is assigned the value 0, right? Then the for loop will get executed, I equals to 1. Here I is equals to 1, 1 is less than 4. So now in the case of this, since I is assigned the value 1, so it will only display 3 information, that is this, this, and this. So this information will not be displayed, because here in your textbook the value has been assigned I equals to 1. So here, as long as the for test condition is true, I will display the value, call this, and then it will display this value, EMB code, EMB name, EMB designation, and EMB salary. Alright, so when we run this program, you can see that employee code 100, okay, Mr. John Smith, computer teacher, 30,000. The second one is 101, John Smith, computer teacher, but designation is not mentioned here because we have not assigned any designation value in in the case of the second call here. Oh, here. So Mr. John Smith, computer teacher, and salary is 0, right? But in the case of this, in the case of this, you can see that EMB code is 102, EMB name is Mr. John Smith, alright, and EMB designation and salary is not mentioned, but here you can see that EMB salary is assigned the value 0. But for the case of EMB designation, it has not been copied, right? So here, that's why you are getting a random value, right? Now let's say that we change, okay, let's say that we comment this EMB salary also, right? So now what will happen is that when this function gets invoked, that is in the case of this and this, right? So you can see that the first one, it gets the correct information, all the 4 parameters of all the 4 arguments gets passed. In the second case, you can see that the first 3 arguments get passed, but the last one, salary, since it is under comment, right? So salary has not been assigned any value, right? But it has to display. So here we are getting a random value, that is NaN. Okay, since it is of a character data type, since a float data type, sorry. So now in the case of this here, you can see that E code, E name, alright. Here also we are getting the designation as a random value, and then the salary also as a random value, right? So that's why we are writing down here EMB salary equals to 0. Okay, now again here what about this default value? Why is this default value not being displayed? That is this e equal e and e designation and e salary. That is because, as you know, that in an array index always starts with 0, right? An array index always starts with 0. So when you run this, you can see that the default value also gets displayed. E code is 0, e name, okay, e designation is null, and e salary. All right. So that way, you can see that you can overload a constructor using area of class objects, right? So students, you type this program, okay, you make changes to the program and see the different outputs that you're getting, right?